Peace, love, Goldn.Light. Today is Thursday. So on Thursdays, I always share my journal response for the Write It Down series. And this week has been all about the wisdom of animals, right? So let's get into my prompt. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, we about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down. So the journal prompt asks you to think of all of the animals in creation. Choose one that you can learn from. So studying their habits, their environment, their structure, all parts of the animal. And then write about the connections, symbolisms, or different things that you can learn about that animal. So I'm someone that I always look into the study of animals, especially if there's a particular animal that crosses my path frequently. There was a time where I was constantly encountering spiders in a very unique way, and the same thing with snakes. So there's this book that I like to go through, which is called Animal Speak. And it is basically the spiritual magical powers of creations, both great and small. So I use this book to kind of get some understanding about what these animals symbolize, as well as doing my own personal studies, meditations, and and reflections about them. So initially I was like, okay, let me write about spiders and snakes, you know what I'm saying? Because I like doing those studies and how it relates back to certain parts of my life. But it didn't really go like that. Honestly, the animal that I decided to write about is actually a cardinal. I was sitting on my balcony one morning, early in the morning, and y'all know that birds be up early, so I don't mind the birds singing and chirping and shit like that. But I was sitting on the balcony and I was deep in thought, and out of nowhere, this cardinal flew on a branch right in front of me. Now, cardinals are known all over North Carolina. I see them all the time. But it was very special the way that this cardinal had landed before me while I was in a meditation, right? So I was like, okay, this week is about animals. Let me look into birds. Let me look into a cardinal. So that's pretty much the initial thing that I was writing in my journal about me spending time on the balcony, my encounter with the cardinal, and just my overall fascination with birds. I'm constantly fascinated with birds flying or being in the sky, and just that always puts me in a reflective or meditative state. So I'm like, yeah, let's go with birds. Specifically with the cardinal, I'm going to share some of the things that I read in the book Animal Speak that really stuck out to me, because especially coming into this new month of March and the things that I plan to focus on, like the type of energy and flow that I plan to have for March, is very, I'm not gonna say a coincidence, but it's very key that I decided to explore the different symbolisms and attributes of a cardinal. So in the book Animal Speak, it states that cardinals' energy is renewed vitality through recognizing self-importance. A cardinal's presence reflects a time to renew our vitality. It reflects lessons in developing and accepting a new sense of our own true self-importance. So I was like, okay, that's very interesting. Vitality. I started to go into that word, the state of being strong, active, and having energy or feeling alive. The cardinal also represents confidence and balance. Cardinals, they said, are confident in their own distinctive gifts, right? So as I mentioned, every time I'm going into a new month, I do a very specific like meditation and card pull that allows me to tap into the type of flow that I want to focus in for the month. And in that reflection, there were a couple things that I wrote down that I want to specifically focus on. So my health, detoxing, nourishing my blood, and then also the characteristics of being a warrior. So really focusing on strength, power, and confidence. So the fact that I was already reading like some of the things about the cardinal and what they symbolize was very interesting. It also mentioned in the book that cardinals can reflect a need to be careful about your diet. What you're eating may be harmful to yourself and affecting your overall vitality. So Overall, my health has been really good, but I have been wanting to focus. I'm always like going through these moments where it's like, okay, it's time for a detox, it's time for a cleanse, it's time to tighten up a little bit on my eating habits, right? So being that Cardinals also symbolize to reflecting your diet, and this was like literally my flow for this month, was very interesting. And also that warrior aspect, or power and confidence, is something that was also reflected. So I learned that male Cardinals are typically more the ones that are red. This made me think about the color. What does the color red symbolize? And of course, it also brought me into the root chakra. So I wrote down that the color red can symbolize passion, love, power, fire, and blood. It also can symbolize, or when you see it, also can mean that there may be action that you need to take. And then going into the root chakra, which just a little bit of some things that I wrote down, not to go into like a full study of the chakras, but the root chakra deals with foundation. It is your starting point for developing and maintaining balance. It also is going back to the things that keep you grounded. So focusing on your basic physical needs like food, shelter, water, as well as those feelings of feeling of the emotional aspect of feeling like secure or safe, right? So that foundation is also built on self-esteem, self-worth, and also made me think about self-importance. So all of this was just a beautiful reflection within itself, that it wasn't just about the bird. It wasn't just about the cardinal, because there were so many things that I was learning that also related back to my own reflections and my own focus while I was actually going into this month, and things that related back to my meditation. So I'm even more focused to make sure that I'm doing a detox, especially going into a new season. Spring is slowly approaching. I'm so excited for just warmer weather, being outside. It's just a lightness that happens with my spirit when the weather is getting warm and feeling the sun and things like that. This Sunday, I will be sharing a new journal prompt that will continue the Write It Down series. It would actually be the first prompt that would be for March, since we do release the prompts every Sunday. So until then, my sugar babies, peace and love. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, we about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down.